And now a word from our sponsor, Lux for Less Travel. Luxury cruising listeners know an exceptional journey is about more than just the ship. It's about the moments that stay with you long after you return home. You've heard me say before, the right travel advisor can absolutely make or break that experience. If you want exclusive amenities, preferred pricing, generous onboard credits, and VIP touches you won't find booking on your own, it's time to connect with Lux for Less Travel. Sylvia isn't just an advisor. She's a seasoned world traveler who has explored Europe's grand capitals, sailed French Polynesia, stood before the wonders of Egypt, and experienced unforgettable African safaris. With more than 40 cruises across lines from MSC Yacht Club to Silversea and Regent Seven Seas, she knows luxury cruising inside and out. But what truly sets Sylvia apart is her commitment to seamless planning and thoughtful extras that elevate your trip from wonderful to extraordinary. Before you book your next voyage, reach out to Lux for Less Travel, because true luxury should feel effortless and incredibly rewarding. Head to the show notes for information on how to contact Sylvia and get started on your next adventure.
Time to talk about luxury cruising, from sweet so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and I'm really excited because today we have Sonal with us, and she is going to tell us about what is arguably the pinnacle of luxury cruising. She took a Ritz-Carlton Yachts cruise. I'm so excited about having her here today to talk about her trip. So please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Thank you, Krystal, for having me. I'm so excited to be talking about the Ritz Yacht Cruise because it was so fabulous. My name is Sonal Gupta, and I am an integrative psychiatrist in Illinois. We had the opportunity to take this really beautiful cruise in December for our anniversary. So we were very excited to go to the Caribbean.
Amazing. So was this like a special anniversary cruise or like a milestone anniversary, or it's just like, look, it's our anniversary, we want to celebrate, we do something every year?
Yeah, I mean, it was not our milestone, but it just happened to be during the week of our anniversary. So it just worked out perfectly. And we had been talking about doing a Ritz Yacht Cruise for a very long time. And it just happened to fall on that week. So it was just kind of serendipitous.
Amazing. So tell me now, Ritz-Carlton right now only has one ship. Is that correct?
No, I believe there are several ships.
Oh, really? So what was the name of the ship that you were on?
Evrima.
Awesome. And where did you leave out of, and where did you go?
So we flew to San Juan and Puerto Rico, and then our cruise started there and came back there. So we flew in and out of San Juan.
Cruises that leave out of San Juan, was it sort of like Southern Caribbean, ABC Islands kind of itinerary?
Sort of. I mean, I can tell you where we went. We went to Virgin Gorda. We went to Anguilla. We went to St. Bart's. We went to the U.S. Virgin Islands. We went to one more place, and then because it was 5 days, so every day we were on a different port. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't like sea days, so this was nice.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us about the ship, walking onto the ship. What was the decor like? What was the vibe?
So it's very low key because it's so small. The port itself is very large, but it's very, very low key as you enter because on the larger ships, you see lots of lines, you see lots of people. This was nothing like that. There was a porter kind of greeting you as soon as you got out of your Uber or your taxi, and they kind of take all your things from there and they lead you to canapes and champagne, and then you're checking in for your cruise, and then you get on and from there, I mean, you're never with your luggage. My husband and I, we're a carry-on only family, so we don't have a lot of things to begin with, but there was somebody to handle all your things right from the beginning. So then we got on the ship and, again, like when you're entering a larger ship, you're kind of overwhelmed with, you know, where do we go? What do we do? There are kiosks and desks as soon as you enter. There's somebody to talk to you about your room and take you to your room, show you around, tell you all the amenities. And what ended up happening for us is that my husband had booked a room, and I had just casually, when they were showing us the room, had asked them, I said, is there a possibility of getting a larger like suite? And she said, I'll check. So probably about 5 minutes later, she calls me and she's like, I'd love to show you another suite. And because they were not at capacity during our cruise, we did not have to pay the full premium for that much larger suite. So, which was amazing. I highly recommend the suites or the Ritz just because there's just so much more room. It's so much more luxe. Your balcony is twice the size. You have a nice sitting area. You're not just constantly on top of everyone, so there's just room to spread out. So I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the decor of the ship? Was it kind of like modern luxury, clean lines, like classic nautical? Give us an idea. I would say more modern luxury.
I think as soon as you enter, there's like the kiosks, and then, they have a little to go hydration station. So you can hydrate with various flavored waters. You can hydrate with McKellen, whatever, you want. And then to the left of that, instead of like nautical knickknacks, you have Birkins and Kellys on display that you can potentially buy during your cruise, which I thought was a nice touch.
Very
Yeah.
nice. I've had other people on the podcast that has compared, when you had said earlier, when you go into the big ship, contemporary or premium ship, like you're usually going into maybe a large promenade or kind of like a central area, as opposed to on a luxury ship, you feel like you're just walking into sort of front hall of a boutique hotel.
Yes.
Anything like
That's
that?
how I felt. Yes, for sure. It was very approachable. You didn't feel lost or overwhelmed. If you wanted to go to the station to hydrate, you could. Otherwise, somebody was there to bring you whatever you wanted. And then, they had told us, because they have a Michelin star restaurant on board, they said, if you want to dine there during your trip, you should do that in advance. But other than that, all of the rest of the dinner reservations we could make as soon as we got on the ship, which was nice because, once our suite was squared away, that's kind of the next thing on our agenda was the dining experiences that we wanted to have. But again, very approachable, not long lines. It was kind of like, come at your leisure. We'll make space for you, that kind of thing. So it was just very chill.
Going back to the room for a second. So you said it was very spacious. Was it kind of a style, or did it have a separate sitting room, a separate bedroom? Were there any dining areas?
Yeah, as you walk in, there's a long corridor, and then there's a powder room, and then like a place to hang your coat or put your shoes or your hats or whatever. And then as you're walking along the corridor, there's a countertop underneath, which is the mini bar, and there's little snacks and things on the table or on the side over there. And then you walk into a place that has a 4-seated round dining table. Next to that is a seating area. So there's a couch, there's more of a reclining kind of chair, and then there's a TV in that room. And then next to that is the bedroom that has sliding doors. If whoever you're with is watching TV and you don't want to be watching TV, you want to take a nap, you can do that, because there was a privacy factor. There was also the room darkening, a little additional bonus, which I really appreciated because a lot of the times you're getting these ports kind of early, but you don't want to be getting up early. And then so the bedroom
Yeah.
had nice spacious closets, his and hers, and then that led into the bathroom area, which was really nice. It had a tub and a shower, and what I really loved, two sinks. So
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Of course, beautiful high-end bathroom products.
Mhm.
Anything of note in the bathroom products?
My husband's more into that than me, but just very good quality is what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the lines have like a specific relationship with a particular brand, and maybe this was, but if it's not your thing, that's totally fine. That brand, I love like the really super high end, like nice smelling soaps and the shampoo that actually washes your hair. Love those products. Awesome.
Yeah.
Did any other amenities come with the room? And if by upgrading to that suite, were there any upgraded amenities?
Uh, I feel like it was more the thoughtfulness that I appreciated. Like, the day after we got on was our actual anniversary. So they had put like this huge bouquet of fresh flowers in our room. Everybody is assigned a butler. So we had a butler that had called my husband and said, if there's anything, that you would like us to do, please let us know. There was obviously champagne there for us. Every night they had left us very nice chocolates and like macarons and things like that. So it was really, yeah, just very nice. You felt like somebody wanted to make you feel special.
Yeah, I love that. You know about how many passengers were on the ship total?
They were about 150.
Yeah. So pretty small, not tiny,
Yeah.
but small.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so you got to see a lot of the same people. And then there were some people that we saw like once and we didn't see them again. So, it was interesting that way. Sometimes we feel like the things that we opt to do with our time off, we end up feeling we're with a certain age group of people. And they tend to be a little bit older than us just because I think that they're kind of also looking for those kinds of experiences. What was interesting to us about this was that it was so many different age ranges of people. There were people that were newlyweds, there were people that were just getting established in their careers, there were people that were established, there were people that were retired, there were a lot older people. It was really interesting. And I would say there was probably, even though this was before Christmas, I would say there were probably 2 or 3 kids on board too, but we never really saw them much, but they were there. So I thought that was an interesting part of the people that it brought in. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because it's true. The luxury lines do tend to draw an older demographic.
yeah.
Although I interview plenty of people of all ages that do have these luxury experiences and have an amazing time and talk to people because the thing about a cruise is that you're all there because you're interested either in the ship or in the itinerary. So you automatically have a preset of people with something in common.
Yes.
And so for people who want to be social and talk to other cruisers who like to see the world on a cruise ship, you already have something to talk about.
That's true. Yeah. And surprisingly, there were a lot of physicians on this one, so we had a lot to talk about too.
Yeah, always fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned the food. So walk us through what were the dining options and how was the food?
So for our actual anniversary, we did decide to do the Michelin star restaurant, which did not disappoint. I thought it was a really unique dining experience. And my husband and I both have several different and unique dietary restrictions. So I'm always a little bit worried about how that's going to be handled. But I thought that was very well executed. We do a lot of Michelin star dining around the world, and I thought that this was very nicely executed dinner, very memorable. So we were glad to be able to do that.
What was the name of the restaurant?
I want to say it was La Mer.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah, La Mer.
Mm-hmm.
And Was it included in your cruise fare, or did you have to pay something extra if you wanted to dine in?
No, that was separate.
Sometimes the specialty dining is all included on some of these ships, but just good to know that this one restaurant, there's a bit of an upcharge.
Yes. Then there was an Asian style restaurant, which we thought was really good too. And that was like Pan Asian kind of cuisine. Um, then they had an Italian restaurant, which we also thought was very good. And then they had more of a casual, like poolside kind of restaurant, which was kind of all day dining. And then they had another one that was kind of more grill and burgers kind of thing, which was also available for dinner. So there were options. But again, it wasn't like your bigger cruise ship where there was just food available all day. You know, you could get something to eat. If you wanted a bite, you could go to that hydration center and get maybe like a little bite or something there. But otherwise, it was kind of breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
there's 150 people on board. You don't have to have food available 24 hours a day.
Right.
Certainly cuts down on some food waste. And I'm sure if you wanted to have something in the middle of the day,
You could.
there would be somebody would be more than happy to get you, a little canapé or a little snack or something.
Yes, definitely.
Did you ever, on this ship, were you able to have any of those restaurants served in your suite? And did you ever do that?
So my husband is not a fan of eating in the room, whether it be hotel or cabin or whatever. So we typically don't do that. He likes
Got
to leave the room for that.
I don't blame him. Like, I like to be served at a restaurant, but every once in a while you're tired, especially this was a really port intense itinerary. You get back and you're like, I can't get dressed. I need to just eat in my room.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting dressed, what was the attire like? How were people dressed?
Surprisingly more casual than I had expected. They had one themed night, which was like a white party. And even for that, it was more casual. Typically, like some other cruises that we've done that have been higher end, there's been like dinner with the captain, which is kind of much more upscale dressing. This one didn't have that. I dressed up for the Michelin star restaurant night just because it was our anniversary too. I wouldn't say people came in like flip-flops or shorts to dinner unless they went to that poolside grill kind of place, but it was more casual overall.
Just to know, I think what I'm loving about this is because when people think like of ultra luxury, they obviously are always going to think like, oh, it's uppity or snooty, or everybody's going to be like, super overdressed. But you guys came with a carry-on each. Maybe you could fit a ball gown and heels in there,
Yeah.
but not much else. But what I'm hearing is it's not. It's pretty low key. People are generally really nicely dressed. You're not playing flip-flops in your bathing suit and a
Yes.
cover up, but people aren't walking around in ball gowns and
No,
tuxedos
not at all.
either. So did you take any excursions that were sponsored through Ritz-Carlton on any of the port stops?
We did. Excursions are all extra. They're not included in the cruise. And so we had never been to Virgin Gorda. And so there was like a hike that you could do, which was very scenic, a little scary at times, but very cool. And so we did that one. And then we did a catamaran around Anguilla. And that was also through the ship. And then for the St. Bart's Day, I just wanted to be a little bit more on our own kind of thing. So we did not do that through the ship. And same with the Virgin Islands. That day, we just roamed around on our own a little bit. So we did a good mix of things.
And for the excursions that you did with the Ritz-Carlton, did you feel like this was special or up-leveled in any way because it was a Ritz-Carlton excursion?
What I appreciated about them was that I did not feel jam-packed into like a catamaran. I felt like they had a knowledgeable captain. I felt like whether they didn't cram us all in, they were again like very mindful of, oh, we have two vegetarians with us today. We have one person that won't drink beer today. So I felt like in that way it was very personalized, which in a lot of other excursions on other ships, they're kind of like, okay, well, you get what you get, or make sure you take a packed lunch with you if you're not gonna be able to eat whatever. So in that way,
Yeah.
I felt like it was elevated just because it was personalized to us. And also, I didn't feel like
Got it.
they were
Yeah.
huge busfuls or large numbers of anybody doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of these are
Mhm.
smaller islands. And so when you're going on a ship with 2,000 people and they all get sort of like dumped on the island, it sort of loses a little bit of its authenticity. I mean,
Yeah.
150 people, assuming every single person gets off the ship, you don't make as much of a, let's say, a dent in the
Right.
population.
And even with that, I mean, I know that there were a lot of people that day that wanted to go to the baths and Virgin Gorda and do that tour, that hike and that tour. But you never felt like, I mean, even in that, they broke us up into small groups. So we were never more than, 8 or 9 people in each group. So I appreciated that.
Yeah. Once you're back on the ship, especially a ship with 150 people, how was the entertainment? What was there to do in the
So
evenings?
in the evenings, they had a lounge on a lower level, and then they had a lounge on the upper level. The lower level always had live music, singers and musicians and things like that. And then there would be trivia sometimes, or there would be like games or whatever. And then on the top floor after 9:30, there was a DJ every night. Those were the two kinds of things that there were. And then, they had a nice fitness center, they had a spa, they had a full service beauty salon. So, you kind of pick your poison and do whatever, excites you.
That sounds amazing. Is there anything else about the trip that you wanted to mention that you think we haven't covered yet?
I don't know. I think we talked a little bit. They had organized various like shopping events on the boat. You could learn about vintage handbags if you wanted. You could learn about, they had one day where they were talking about some jewelry, something. So it was kind of like a shop and learn kind of thing, which I thought was cute.
I love that on Ritz-Carlton, the expert learners are about like vintage
Ah,
handbags. Other places, you've got like whales of the
right.
North and like the history
Yeah.
of Antarctica. And then on the Ritz-Carlton, you've got
Yeah,
classic
right.
handbags.
I
So
thought that was hilarious too. But I liked it. That's kind of up my alley, so I appreciated it. It was really cool.
yeah.
And people were excited to buy. So kudos to them for knowing their clientele. And what my husband kept commenting on the whole week was he was just kind of like, wow, this is like free flowing champagne for everybody. And my husband doesn't drink, but he just thought that it was so, I feel like in a lot of other places, there's somebody constantly keeping track of what you're consuming. Whereas here there was nothing like that. Even when you took a dinghy to the port, there was like a hydration center on the port. When you got back, same thing. When you sat down for French fries near the pool, people were there to take care of you. So,
Yeah. Well, before we finish, let's step back from this particular cruise. And I want to ask you a couple of things that I
okay.
asked everyone. The first is, how do you define luxury?
I define luxury as a feeling that you're not doing what everybody else is doing. And it's a feeling that you are being really well taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Did this trip on Ritz-Carlton meet the definition of luxury for you?
Yes.
Awesome. Before I get to my next question, one thing that I have read about Ritz-Carlton Yachts is they are really trying to blur the lines between sort of traditional cruising and small ship yachting. Did you get that? Like, whenever I read about them or look at them, I always think like, this is below deck. Do you get that sense too, that this is really just on the cusp of just being like a chartered yacht?
There were times where you feel like that, but I think in my head, a chartered yacht would probably have even fewer people. A few years ago, we had done a expedition cruise to Antarctica on a small ship. So I kind of felt like that's also a cruise ultimately. And so for me,
Mhm.
this was similar in terms of the numbers to that. So in my
Mhm.
head, I feel like
Yes.
a yacht is even smaller. But yes, that's definitely their intention for sure.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Do you have a dream cruise?
Like a cruise line or a destination?
Anything, bro? Like any, yeah, like something that you would just definitely have been dreaming of. And one day I'm going to do this cruise, whether it's on this particular boat or maybe to the North Pole. I had somebody on that actually took a Punat cruise to the North Pole, geographical North Pole, whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to do an Amman cruise. Yeah.
Wow.
And even Four Seasons would be really cool. So,
Yes, yes. That's definitely their closest competitor, right? I think that Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton are going to be very similar experiences.
but
Yeah.
yeah, probably be my upper, yeah, fantasy. Yeah.
Anything on the books, luxury, cruise-wise or otherwise?
I'm taking a trip to some wine country and champagne country in France in a few weeks. So that's what is on the agenda next. But we've done a lot of very high-end luxury trips before. So we keep doing them, but we don't plan ahead. We're not like other people where we plan too far ahead. We don't do that. But no, our luxury trips are not always cruises. We had done the Orient Express for our actual milestone anniversary last year. So that was very exciting. And then I had always wanted to experience Versailles. And so Versailles actually has a hotel on property. So we had spent a night there. So that was a very, very memorable. Both of them were very, very memorable. And then, of course, yeah, Antarctica, the cruise, and Galapagos, and all of those. So, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes. Well, anytime you just book a last minute luxury cruise and want to come back on the podcast and talk about it, you are more than welcome. I know that you have an Instagram page where you chronicle all of this glorious and beautiful luxury travel. Can you tell us what is the Instagram page?
Yeah, so it's called I Want Candy. So it's EYE dot want and then dot candy.
Oh, I love that name. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, so thank you so much for being here to tell us about Ritz-Carlton. And to all the listeners, thank you. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.